One or two of you noticed that I hadn't produced any videos last week. My apologies for that. I did become quite ill weekend before last, and I wasn't fit either mentally or physically to actually do any filming. And then by Monday night I'd lost my voice, which pretty much put paid to any video production last week at all. Now my voice has started to come back over the weekend. It's not fully there yet. It does require some effort to talk at the moment, so I'm going to keep this video short and sweet. And today we're going to look at the Oxford Products Premium Paddock stand to fit the Triumph Bonneville Bobber. Now, as the name might suggest, this is a much higher quality paddock stand than those that we've looked at in the past. And as far as I can tell, it's a pretty unique design. There's nothing else out there quite like it. It's made from a silver powder coated mild steel, and it does have quite a long reach, which is good because that means it doesn't foul on your rear number plate when you're trying to lift the bike. It has a really sturdy double wheel setup on both sides, good high quality wheels, a welded brace on each side for extra security and safety, some rubber cushions on the underside so that the metal itself doesn't get scratched up in use, and as you would expect, some adjustable lifting hooks. As well as your two bobbin hooks, it does also have two heavy-duty swing arm cradles for bikes that don't have the facility for fitting a bobbin. This makes the whole paddock stand quite a universal item, so if your next bike doesn't have the facility of fitting bobbins, all is not lost. You may still be able to use your paddock stand. Assembly is quite simple. Now, I have to admit I wasn't quite with it on Monday still. I was still feeling quite ill, and I didn't notice until well after filming, in fact while I was editing this video, that I had actually put the lifting arms on the wrong sides. Now, I don't think it actually makes any structural difference, but just for the avoidance of doubt, I think the embossed Oxford logo on the welded supports should face the outside of the paddock stand along with the Oxford stickers. I just thought I'd mention that before someone else does. In the box with the paddock stand you will find two M8 bolts with cradles profiled to fit the actual steel tubing of the paddock stand. You simply insert the lifting arms into the actual handle assembly, push your bolts through, making sure that you've got one of those contoured pieces on either side of the hole, and then thread your nut onto the bolt and tighten it up. And that is, to all intents and purposes, the only assembly required. Your actual bobbin hooks are adjustable for width to suit different bikes. And before we look at actually lifting the bike, there's just one more feature I'd like to bring to your attention. The stand comes equipped with two Oxford clean grips. These normally store on the actual frame of the paddock stand when it's not in use. They fasten on with Velcro, and the idea is that you remove these and you put them onto the grips of your bike prior to working on it. And it's a nice idea, I like it. The whole idea behind it is that it protects the rubber on your grips from oily hands while you're working on the bike and manoeuvring it about, so that none of that oil and dirt is later transferred onto your expensive riding gloves. It's a nice touch. Now, one thing that I did notice with this particular paddock stand is that the actual bobbin hook at the front is quite long, and this meant that I was unable to use those low profile Oxford bobbins that I'd shown you in a previous video. There simply wasn't enough clearance without the actual bobbin hook interfering with the swing arm, and I had to stick those R&G ones back on for the purposes of this video. Now, this is a real shame, but it's not Oxford's fault. Triumph, to me, have put no thought into facilitating the use of a paddock stand with the Bobber Black, and I'm presuming the Speedmaster. It's been an afterthought. That's why so many people are having problems using paddock stands with these models of bike. They've simply not thought it through. Now, the actual lugs to accept the bobbins are recessed back underneath the swing arm instead of being quite prominent on the outside of it as they are on most bikes. And the low profile design of the Oxford bobbins meant that there simply wasn't enough clearance. In my book, it beggars belief that Triumph have designed this bike in this way and then haven't provided a factory solution for bike owners so that they can carry out simple maintenance tasks. They've basically just dumped this whole problem in the owner's lap and left him with it, which is why I've ended up making these videos. Now, it may well be that Oxford do make a suitable bobbin that will get around this problem, but I've not had the time to research it as yet. Rest assured, I will get back to them, and if they do have a solution, we will revisit this. So that little niggle aside, I know a lot of people have been waiting for me to review this higher quality premium grade paddock stand from Oxford, and I have to say it is a far better proposition than that budget stand I tested a few months ago. At the end of the day, it is just a tool, but it is far better made and far better finished than the previous item. And the design and extra length of the handle means that it can be operated easily without it snagging on the rear number plate, which was a bit of an issue with that budget stand. I would say that there is perhaps a little extra effort required to lift the bike with this stand, but that's because it does lift the back end of the bike up a few inches higher than the budget stand. And I think that's an important factor to take into consideration. This is a very low bike when it's on its side stand, and although I haven't actually attempted it yet, it did strike me that I was even going to run into difficulties getting a drip pan underneath in order to carry out an oil change. This paddock stand is going to make that much easier. It's okay getting the back wheel up off the ground and getting the bike level, but if you don't have room to work underneath it where you need to work underneath it, it is only of limited use, and this stand does address that problem. Right, I can feel my voice going now, so I'm gonna leave it at that. I will leave a link for this stand in the video description down below. Once again, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video and that you found it useful. If you have, please leave a like and subscribe to this channel. Unless I have a relapse, I should be back on Friday, so until then, ride safely and I'll see you soon.